Okay. We are back. And yeah, a pretty comfortable game overall. Well, I say that. The first half was very comfortable. The second half was anything but. It was a bit more nervy, a bit more cagey. Let me do my checks real quick. Get that paused, get the chat popped out. And yeah, this stream's not going to be too long. I'm going to kind of go over the things which I feel need to be mentioned. Apart from that, not much to be said. Again, just in general, really good day for Chelsea. Not only this win and a large margin of victory in this fixture to take to the second leg, but also Brentford beating Nottingham Forest, which is almost better news. So now we're above them on goal difference, so that's fun. And yeah, we're gonna hit this. We're gonna go into feeling blue here. I said I got my usual 7 points. And yeah, it was kind of not particularly hard to pick them. I think the players kind of picked themselves here for me. Yeah. Let's just. As I said, it's very. And you probably tell from the way I am, but like it is really hot still. My room is baking, so I'm dying. So I'm probably not going to stream for too long. So I'll probably blast through this as quickly as possible. But let's move into the feeling blue screen now. The first player that I want to talk about here is a player that I don't think has been. I don't think he's been particularly good for us this season. I don't think he's been particularly. I don't think he's been particularly outstanding in any way. But when he has been needed, he has shown up, and that's Filip Jurgensen. Didn't expect to put him in here, apart from his clean sheet being stolen. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. I just realised I haven't done the bingo. You know what's really funny? Hang on, before we do that. Crimson, the funniest thing is that name, the Grayscale, was the old name of my old Discord. That was my old Discord name before it changed to the one it is now. It was called the Grayscale. That's really funny. I'm probably going to do that. I might do that. In all honesty, I said I've just started into the. I'm so out of sorts because it's so hot. I've started into the feeling blue. I haven't done a bingo. Let's see if we can find the bingo. Where is the bingo? There it is. Cool. Bingo. That's what we're supposed to do first. I apologise. It's been a long day. So, first up, we get Shim App. Absolutely not. He didn't come on. Very upsetting that he didn't get to go on, but we played a bit more of a stronger team in the second half, and we kind of benefited from that. So, no harm, no foul. George, goal/assist, he did not get this. We did not get a clean sheet. Good crowd, absolutely. The ultras of the Djurgarden crowd were just constantly making noise. I kind of expected this. Subs make the difference. Not really making the difference, but they did have a big impact, so I'm going to take this. Early goal, yes, we got this pretty early on. I always class an early goal as anything that's 20 minutes and earlier than that, so we got one of those with Jadon Sancho. 2 right backs out of position. Yeah, I think we did get this. No, because James came off. I was going to say, we did kind of get this because Champong was voting sometimes, but we didn't really get this. Over 3 goals scored, that gets ticked off. Game of 2 halves, absolutely. Very comfortable first half, very panicky kind of Pochball-esque second half, I would suggest. Unlikely goal scorer, I don't think so. I guess we could tick this off for them actually scoring, which wasn't very likely. So you take that off. Player book for Descent. Yes, I believe Caicedo's booking was for Descent, but even if it wasn't, Tosin got one for fighting, which I guess counts as Descent. So there we go. Clean tackle punished. I don't think we saw many of these. We did see Maresca ball in full flow, though, for one of the goals. Absolutely superb goal. And yeah, no refs VAR mistake, not today. Defensive howler, absolutely there was a defensive howler, and I'll talk about that when we get into the points. Worldy. I'm gonna tick this off, this Worldy, for Jackson's goal, because I think Jackson's goal is really, really smart. Tosin unfortunately doesn't get player of the match for me. I don't think he was particularly the standout out of all the players. He was very, very good, and I'll talk about him a little bit later. This is the most amazing one for me. Correct prediction. Who would have thunk it? Mystic Mono predicts a 4-1 victory for Chelsea. And look, lo and behold, what happens? I should start predicting stuff more. Set piece goal. Was their goal from a set piece? I think their goal was from a set piece, right? I can't remember if it was. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mono on vacation. We did get this on the previous stream almost immediately. So we get that ticked off. Oh, we're very close for a bingo here. Palmer goal. Oh, man. He had a golden opportunity to get this, man. A 1v1. He just needs to trust his weak foot, man. It's always left-footed players. Have you guys noticed this? How it's the left-footed players are always really, really one-footed. We can do the free space of the bingo. Yeah, we can do that. You know what? In fact, you know what I'm going to do this for? Free space for Reggie Walsh, the 16-year-old, coming off the bench, making his debut in a European game for Chelsea and almost scoring with his first touch. Bingo. And we're gonna get some more here. Weird sub. You know what? I'm gonna tick off the weird subs just because I think that the substitutions that Enzo made today were very strong. Oh, like like kind of scarily like strong for the fixture that it was. Eventually, it paid off because we needed them in the end, but like it was a bit confusing at the time. Over 4 youth players. Who did we play at the end? We had Walsh, Achempong, George. Was there anyone else? Any other youth players? I'm not going to count someone like James, even though he is technically one of our youth products. Oh, was there anyone else? Kiernan, no. Palmer, no. Jackson, no. Damn, that's annoying. We only get 3. So, unfortunately, we don't get that. And then the first leg sorted. Absolutely. Yeah, done and dusted. And yeah, we get bingo. For the first time this season on the new setting, we get a bingo. Perfect. And now, we can pretend like I didn't already do this part. And say the first point is for Philip Djurgarden. Yeah, as I was saying earlier and had to kind of interrupt myself, I think Jurgensen had a pretty good game today. I think that he was relatively comfortable with his feet, and I think he made some really, really decent saves in this game, denied them 2 clear goals. And you never know, in the grand scheme of things, those 2 saves, if they weren't saves and they scored and this game was a 4-3 fixture, they could very well go to Stamford Bridge and give us something to actually worry about. With him preventing those 2 goals, we have a much more... yeah, Trev, I guess Trev counts as well, but when I'm talking about youth players, I'm meaning like players that have come out of the youth academy and haven't been established in a way. So like Chalabar's been a first teamer for so long now, so I wouldn't really count him. But yeah, very, very important saves from him today. Basically keeping the tie as far apart as possible and making it that next week or whenever the next tie is, we can kind of just play a weaker side at Stamford Bridge and just hope that we kind of make it over with a weaker side. That's the first good point. Now, I mentioned the fact that he did not get a clean sheet, and it's very, very unfortunate. And I'm going to talk about why now. And I'm a person that's very positive. I'm very, very optimistic when it comes to this team, but I will call out bullshit when bullshit happens. And that's for just an absolute piss poor piece of defending. And it's the only reason he's in here, for Trevor Chalabar. This is a player that I respect a lot, a player that I like a lot, but he has been a shadow of his former self in this kind of comeback that he's been in. Since he came back from Crystal Palace, he has not been particularly good, except for that first game he played. The mistake that he makes for the goal we concede is absolutely horrific. And the thing, I understand where, like, when you look at the way where he's playing, where he's playing, is that right back, right centre back hybrid role. He's been used to in the past few weeks of playing at right centre back and expecting there to be a man wide of him to cover the man making a run. I get that. However, when you literally have Moises Caicedo in front of you screaming and pointing and going, hey, mark that guy, and you stand there like a lemon, completely let him free, let him get passed into, and then they score off the back of that, not directly, but off the back of that pressure. It's just, oh, man, you can't be making those mistakes. This is a Premier League footballer. A Premier League defender making this absolute schoolboy error, and it's just embarrassing. I don't want to be, as I said, I don't want to be too harsh, but I did need to point it out because the one negative I can take from this game was that, and it's the glaringly obvious one. Just come on, man. We lose a clean sheet, and you lose Jurgensen a clean sheet just because like we switch off, and it's just like, oh, so frustrating. Let's move into more positive things though, because the rest of the things I am going to talk about are going in the good box. I think the next player I'm going to talk about is someone who I mentioned previously, and that's Tosin Adarabioyo. Now, he didn't get player of the match like I predicted he would, but he did have a very, very solid performance. Not only being strong in the tackle, being strong in his aerial duels, and most of the time just kind of mopping everything up, but his passing today was just incredible in terms of him spearing passes through the middle, being direct, hitting the two central 10 players, which is something that's so important to this team. And so, yeah, I said, so like, what's the word? So imperative to the way that the system works. We always say it, that I always mention how important Lavia is because he can do that turn and get the ball past the first line and then get it into the 2-10s. Tosin was doing a similar thing here today, where he was kind of bypassing the midfield and just playing it really, really fast into those two centre backs. And though Badiashile was also trying to do this, and I do give him credit for that, I'm not putting Badiashile in one of these boxes. He wasn't very accurate with his passing today. He was a bit off the pace at sometimes. I think he defended very, very well though. I'll give him that credit. But yeah, really, really good. One thing I would say is maybe don't get into fights with players. I know it's a bit of a naughty one from Gullickson, but like, come on, you know, not to you don't need to be getting into fights and getting yourself booked, especially considering if you now get booked in the second leg, you can't play in the final. So very, very, very silly from him, but I do back him from being the uncle and sticking up for the players. Next player I'm going to be putting in here is a player that I've been, like, again, I always say I think he's been slowly getting better in every single game we see him play, and that's Keenan Dewsbury Hall. I think he played really, really well today. And he was doing, again, like I mentioned with Lavia, he was doing that kind of Lavia role, but a bit higher up, where he was receiving the ball on the half turn and then getting his body across and driving up the pitch and kind of getting us forward. The pass that he plays in the build-up to Madueke's goal into Enzo is absolutely phenomenal. And he, again, as we always kind of expect from him, just buzzing around everywhere, being a nuisance, pressing all over the pitch, and just, as I said, just running his socks off as ever. I think he was really, really good today. Bit weird that he kind of didn't move over to the left-hand side when Palmer came on. I will admit that. That's a bit odd, but he did the most of kind of playing in that position. So, yeah, good from him. As I said, he's been steadily getting really, really good, much better and more improved every single time we see him. So hopefully that can keep up. Whether he stays here in the summer is another question. Not sure if he's earned that right yet, but there we go. Next player I'm going to put in here is a joint point. So I'm going to be putting in the joint point of, and this is a bit of a weird one because I didn't technically play together, but I'm going to call it a duo of Reece James and Enzo Fernandez. Playing in that midfield together, these two were, again, just unplayable today, especially James. I would like to highlight James especially. People always say, people have been saying recently, like, oh, Enzo Maresca is misusing James, he should be playing him at right back. He really, really showed those people that say that how silly they look, because he was so good today. Not only him just, again, being defensively solid as we know him to be, and being that really hard to shrug off the ball, very good balance, very good strength type defender, but also being able to play the passes over the top. And his delivery today was phenomenal. There should have been about, I would say about 3 or 4 of his long balls into the channels or into out wide that should have been finished off and weren't. Again, phenomenal from him. Enzo, on the other hand, again, another really good performance from him, linking up with Madueke on the right-hand side, playing a bit of that kind of, that bombing 8 that we kind of seen him do at times on the right wing, and propping up in the box to put in crosses. He gets an assist for Madueke as well, so he goes in here. Very, very good. Yeah, the captains, the captains, really good captain-like performances today, I would suggest. Also, Caicedo, when he came on and put the armband on, I think he did a very good captain's performance. He didn't get enough kind of game time for me to warrant him being in one of the boxes, though. The next point I'm going to talk about is another group, another joint point. I do apologise for doing the joint points, but it's a joint point for our 2 wingers today, our 2 starting wingers, and that's Noni Madueke and Jadon Sancho. Let's put them down here. Give them a bit more space. Because yeah, this is they showed today everything we want out of wingers. Like, they were direct, they were linking up with their teammates, they were scoring goals, they were providing for each other at times. I don't know what more else to say. This is the exact thing we want to see from them. Especially Sancho. I would like to say Sancho was really direct. He was causing his right back style. He was causing him so many issues. And the fact that he played the full 90 as well was pretty good for him. I think that he went a little bit missing in the second half, I would suggest, but I think that's more so because Palmer kind of kept taking the ball off him or asking for the ball off him, and he kept just kind of saying, oh, you know what, I don't want to run anymore, you can have the ball. But yeah, Madueke, on the other hand, playing for 45 minutes, very good, gets his goal. It's a really good finish from Madueke for his goal. And I believe he plays, if I'm not mistaken, he plays the ball over to Sancho for his goal as well. I think maybe it might have been Enzo. I'm not sure. That might have been Enzo, but I'm pretty sure he plays the ball over to Sancho. As I said, phenomenal from both of them. This is the type of form that we really want these two to be getting into, especially considering we've got this really like late surge of confidence going through the team now that we're picking up wins going into the end of the season. It's really imperative for us in a team that is very based around wingers, and kind of a whole system revolves around getting them out to getting the ball out to wide areas and being proactive and being direct and dribbling at people and trying to take people on. For these two to be getting their confidence back in the last few weeks of the season, absolutely perfect timing. Now, last player I'm going to be putting in here before we go to the poll to decide the true blue, I think it's pretty obvious. 3 goals in 2 games. It's Nicholas Jackson, or should I say Nicholas Backson, because he's right back in the goals, and he looks a confident player now. It's crazy what 1 goal can do to a player. And this is why I'm so annoyed that Palmer didn't score today, because 1 goal can change a career. Genuinely, it really can. And I said Jackson came on, and the thing which I really want to give him credit for, his first goal is a scrappy goal, but it's the typical last season Jackson goal, in the fact that the thing we always praised him for was that he was really tenacious. He would always run at players. He would be pressuring the defenders all the time, forcing mistakes. And I said in my preview, I said, I really want to see us force mistakes from this opposition side and not just wait for them to happen. Jackson really got that memo, and he was like, you know what, no, I'm gonna sprint at you and you're playing the ball back to the goalkeeper. I'm gonna make you uncomfortable. He nicks the ball off the centre back after a bit of a mix up between him and the goalkeeper, and he puts it into an empty net and he gets his goal. And again, strikers, anytime you score a goal, you've done your job. That's the one thing a striker needs to do, is score. And if he's playing badly and still getting goals, that's great. But he's actually playing good now. I said he got the confidence from that really good striker Everton. He's come into this game for 45 minutes and played like a striker that really wants to get more goals. And I said the first one is good because it's old Jackson. The second one is sublime. It is genuinely a goal that I have scored on EAFC. The exact goal. The ball gets played into him. He ball rolls it to the left, smacks it on the weak foot into the top corner. And Nkunku could never. Let's not talk about Nkunku. I think that ship has sailed, considering he's getting Tyreek George starting over him at striker nowadays. But yeah, I did briefly want to talk about that. Sorry, you said someone said a question. I did see it. talk about the 10s playing in each other's positions. So it's weird, right? Because for me, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. You can play them either way, but for me, it makes a little bit of sense in this specific game. So usually Palmer obviously plays, people always say that he plays on the left-hand side. He doesn't. He plays as a central 10 with Enzo as a right 8, but they kind of just rotate around, and it always looks like Palmer kind of rotates naturally to the left side because he's left-footed and he kind of goes towards the ball when the ball goes left. In this game, it's a bit different because we didn't have a right footer and a left footer. We have two left footers, obviously, Kinnan, Dewsbury Hall and Palmer. Now, I believe the reason why he has done this is because on one wing, we have Jadon Sancho, who's a right footer, who wants to come inside. On the other wing, we have Tyreek George, who's a right footer, who wants to go on the outside. So we want on that kind of, we want to have both the best of both worlds on both flanks, right? You need to have a left footer and a right footer on one side, and a left footer and a right footer on the other side. So that's why we've got Kinnan Dewsbury Hall being a left footer paired up with George, who can kind of come inside and play it onto a strong foot, and Palmer, who by all intents and purposes is really, really good at striking across to the goal. I think that's the reason. That's the main reason why he's playing on the left side in this specific scenario with Kinnan Dewsbury Hall and not kind of cutting onto his left foot and getting shots away, is because Palmer is better than Kinnan Dewsbury Hall at shooting across the goal from that left side. And when you have a player like Sancho who's going to cut inside and go towards Palmer, you can kind of play off each other and play Sancho into the box. And I assume that's kind of why he's done that. It is a bit weird, but to be honest, they're both similar players in the fact that they can kind of both play on the left foot and get it in that way. I would prefer to see Kinnan Dewsbury Hall on the left side. Not really sure why he's there, but again, I think it's more so the fact that we're playing kind of like a diamond and Palmer just drifts naturally over to the left side when he plays in a central 10 position. Again, I love when people, sorry, I'm gonna sound a bit rude here. I love when people come into the stream and they say, how are Chalobah bad? Without the context of the point that I actually spoke about. I never said that Chalobah had a bad performance. He just had a bad moment, and the bad moment is why he's here. So if you missed that, you can go back and listen to what I said. But I said that's all the points I have for today. That's my 7 points. Let us run the poll, because you guys get to weigh in with your true blue for the day. And the question I actually have to put to you guys as well, not only this, is if we are going to be rebranding this to the grayscale or whatever, what are we going to call the true blue now? Because I don't really know. Oh god, this is really hard to actually choose who goes in here. I'm going to put in James. I have to choose between wingers. I think Madueke was slightly better than Sancho. And then we'll put in I'll put in Tosin. Why not? Tosin can go in there. I don't think he's going to win, but he can go in there. Boom. Poll. But yeah, vote for your true blue or your player of the match. What have you? I'm going to take a sip of my drink because I'm very dehydrated. And it's about 26 degrees in my room, so... Oh. Had a good performance with a bad moment. Well, that's the thing, though. I don't particularly believe that he had a good performance either. I feel like he had a medium performance with a bad moment, which is why he's been demoted down to bad. I don't think he particularly had much to do other than kind of that one situation where he switched off, and he switched off during that moment, which is why I'm going to put him there. And as I said, for me, it kind of overrides all the good you do if you make one of those mistakes, and it kind of, well, as I said, like, it's less of an impact because we were so far ahead. If that same mistake happened whilst we were only 1 or 2 goals up, people would be looking at it in a much worse light, and I'm being objective there and kind of saying, regardless of the scoreline, it's still a bad mistake. As I said, I'm not gonna. I don't want to be too harsh on Trev, because I don't think he played horrifically badly, but since he's come back from Palace, he just has not been the same player. I think he's pretty good. He was pretty good in one of the games recently. I forget which one though. I don't know if it was Everton. I think it might have been the one before Everton. I forget which one that was. My head's hot, so I can't think. Yeah, Badia Shields also good. Yeah, I think got to update the player graphics for Damak. Yeah, I honestly don't know if they're gonna make new renders. If they do, I will do that for sure. But I'm considering there's only a few games of the season. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. If they, as I said, if they put the new renders out, I will 100% do that. Edson, yeah. Yeah, as I said, Badia Shield, I think he's been slowly, like him and Dewsbury Hall, he's been slowly improving. I think that he had a few shaky moments today, but I think that's just kind of the nature of Djurgarden being, to their credit, really, really good today. Even though they conceded 4 goals, I think that Djurgarden played really, really well. I think they put the sword to us at times, and especially in the second half, they looked like a team that could score more goals. And again, if it weren't for Jurgensen, I think they would have scored more goals. But yeah, so I think that's kind of the reason why Badia was slightly shaky, but overall I think he had a very good performance. The only reason I don't put him in here is because I don't think his performance was particularly like stand out enough for me kind of mention him. But yeah, I appreciate him. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Tosin. I appreciate him trying to do the direct balls, because that's the thing we need to see, and that's the risk we need to take. I just don't think they kind of came off for him as much as they did for Tosin. I think that he plays really, really well with Tosin. I think those two have formed a really good partnership. Same thing with Chalabar and Colwell, actually, I would suggest. I think Chalabar, despite my criticisms of him recently, I feel like him playing with Colwell is they kind of suit each other now, because he's now playing in that more aggressive Wesley Fofana role where he can get up the pitch and kind of be a disruptor and not have to be kind of staying back and holding the line. We handled the artificial pitch well, yeah. I was gonna say, a lot of people were saying like, oh, the artificial pitch is gonna make this really, really bad. I think it actually kind of benefited us in a way. Obviously, we weren't used to playing on it, and they were much more used to playing on it. But because we were trying to fizz those balls in on the floor with the Astro, it's much easier to do that. It doesn't have as much friction on the ground, so we're kind of able to spear those balls into like Kin and Dewsbury Hall, Enzo, for example. I think kind of towards the end of the game, like what I would say is kind of what I said in my preview, is that we got so far ahead that we kind of got a bit lackadaisical and kind of went, oh well, we've already won, and we kind of stopped trying as hard, I would suggest. Again, against a team that is very hungry, and a team that is very together, and a team that has a crowd as loud as their home support was behind them, we're always going to have those moments. They're always going to have those moments where they get some chances. We just have to kind of deal with it if we can. As I said, Jurgensen stopped the majority of them. Some really good efforts from them as well, I would say. I would say, who was it who got that? I think it was Kasugi, who had a really, really good shot from outside the box late on, which I was like, oh, sorry, like whizzed past the left post, and I was like, oh my goodness, how are we still in this? But yeah. True Blue has been decided. I think you guys have picked Nicholas Jackson, which for my money I would have voted for. Nico Jackson goes into the True Blue. I imagine he probably gets player of the match in the actual game. I'll have to check after the game. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out as ever. The next time we will be doing a stream will be on Sunday, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's when our next game is. I will check just in case it's Saturday. No, Sunday the 4th of May is the Liverpool game. Really, really big one. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a video preview for that before we do the stream, and then I'll probably do, because that's such a big game, I'll obviously do Feeling Blue after that as well. Maybe we'll have time to do a tactical breakdown of this game, because there were some interesting things in here, specifically with those kind of passing and the way that our 10s kind of operated. Red versus Blue derby, for real. As I said, hopefully we can get 3 points there. I'm just like, this is my plea to Liverpool, right? You've already won the title. You've got nothing to prove, all right? You already beat us earlier in the season. Just give us this, all right? just give us it. Come on, just give us the 3 points. It'll be fine. But yeah, we are. I will say we are in much better spirits overall as a club. Not only just because we're getting more wins under our belt, we're obviously pretty much guaranteed to be in the final of the Europa Conference League, but as I said earlier, Brentford beat Forest today to keep them behind us in the table, which is really, really nice. And obviously we've got to play them later. We've got to play Newcastle later as well. Really, really big games coming up. And also we've got United, but if we lose to United, I'm going to be so sad. As I said, thank you guys so much for hanging out as ever. I'll move on to the ending screen. As I said, enjoy your evenings. I'm going to go and try and cool down and open all my windows. It's really hot. Peace.